Hello there, and welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a tutorial on skill moves, which was the most requested follow-up to the dribbling tutorial, which makes sense. This is going to be a little bit of an introductory video. It's not going to be on skill move chaining or anything like that. I've still got a little bit to learn in this game for that kind of thing. I was good at it last year, but not so good this year. So just a little bit more of a baseline one, just kind of how to use individual skill moves. But hopefully it's going to be helpful. So let's take a look here. Now, how I want you to think about skill moves are going to be using them under 4 different categories. Some skill moves are going to be better at some categories than others. You can use any skill move under any category, but the real benefit, or the real advantage in-game comes from knowing which skill move to use and when. So, the first 2 are going to be L1-like possession-based cuts to reposition normally inside of an opponent without getting past them. It's just to kind of shift the positioning of where you are relative to the defender. Number 2 is L2+R2 like explosive moves to get past them, actually really creating advantage, but they're riskier because you're actually trying to get past them, which gives them a chance to tackle, but if they don't make the tackle, then you're past them. For those who did not watch my last video, really quickly, L1 and L2+R2 taps are the best ways to dribble in this game that I've found so far. And the L1 tap is if you're beside an opponent and you want to hold on to the ball and get inside of them or cut back the other way, but you're not really going to actually explode past them. It's really hard to sprint out of. It's really hard to like generate a shooting opportunity. It's more if you're trying to cut inside and just make a very consistent cut to end up going and taking a pass or to chain it into another skill move or something else. Because it's really consistent and it's quick and it's possession based, but it's not explosive. So you're not sprinting out of it. It's a quick little turn, but it's not good to sprint out of or anything. Whereas the L2+R2 is much better to sprint out of. It's more if you're face up with an opponent and you're kind of accepting, okay, we're on a one-on-one battle, I want to get past you because I know there's space behind. This is how I'm going to face up against you. And the L2+R2 is just a little cut one way and then continue moving, usually forward. So you can kind of think of the L1 moves as like 45 degrees and that's it. Whereas the L2+R2 is you're like one-on-one directly facing an opponent and you want to just move like 20, 30 degrees to the side and then continue moving in the same direction you were before. So we'll talk about which moves to use for those 2 in-game, but generally that's what they're accomplishing. Category 3 is kind of the most complicated one. If you ever see me doing skill moves in open space, it's either Category 3 or Category 4. And I guarantee you that's not me showboating. There's a benefit to each of them. So this one is if there's certain spacing between you and the opponent, and they're kind of backing off, but you want to make them come and accept a challenge with you. This is doing a skill move to kind of fake looking like you're taking a heavy touch to bait the opponent into stepping into you to do something else. So if Category 3 is never something to do just standalone. You always want to have a second idea of what to do with Category 3. So maybe you've got a Category 2 skill move you want to do. Like I know this is a situation for, let's say, an Elastico or a Mcgeady spin or something like that. The explosive type skill moves to get past, but they're just a little bit too far away, and you want to say, hey, I want you to come and try to stand tackle me, stop backing off, actually, move towards me and approach me. This is a little skill move to do, to just say, oh, it looks like I'm going to take a heavy touch. I'm not actually, I'm still in control because I've got another idea I want to do immediately after. But you're just kind of backing way too far and I can't do what I actually want to do. So this is never one you want to do on your own without having an actual idea of what you want to accomplish. This is just, you want to do something else. This is how to make that something else even better. Category 4 sounds the most complicated. I guarantee you it's the simplest. This is, if you take a heavy first touch, doing something like a ball roll or a body feint really settles your body shape. So you can normally think of this as a body shape type category. So heavy touches, if you want to shoot, say you want to take a finesse shot, but you just need that other 20, 30 degree angle to cut in on that foot and shoot. And you think, well, with my left stick, if I try to move that way, it's going to either take a little heavier touch and get further away from me, or I'm not guaranteed that the left stick is going to move exactly where I want it to. The benefit of these skill moves, and really every skill move, but what you're trying to accomplish with this one is that the skill move is guaranteed to be the same every time, as long as some of your stats are high enough, which we'll talk about later. But this is like, I know exactly where a ball roll or a body feint is going to put me, and that's where I need to end up to take a shot or to make a pass or something like that. So let's go over what these accomplish for you in-game. Now, if you didn't watch my last video, I'll explain really quickly here. So Category 1 and Category 2, for the L1 taps, for just normal dribbling, something like this, where I want to, as I get fouled. I do get fouled. Okay, they finally called it. But I want to cut back inside of the opponent, but I'm not really going to pass them. This is very possession-based. It's not good at, like, exploding you into space, but it's very good at just holding onto the ball. You'll see just how effective that was to cut beside that opponent. Now, if I do normal left stick to try to accomplish that same thing, you'll see how heavy those two touches were. So the left stick is just way more emphasized, and it's less guaranteed. You don't know how many touches you're going to need to take, or how many touches your player is going to decide to perform. Whereas that L1 tap, just much quicker. We'll also show you by going forward and back. So if I try to turn directly backwards, say here, I think it was 2 touches there, and it was pretty slow. He was actually much heavier that time. But if I go directly back with L1 tapping, it's just a much quicker turnaround. Same thing here. Okay, not that time. He did something a little different. It's not guaranteed, but you'll just see they maintain their balance much better, and it's nowhere near as heavy of a touch. Now, if I'm face up with somebody and I want to get past, that's when L2+R2 comes in. Nice slide tackle. If you actually want to explode past and go ahead and take a shot or something like that, that's where this L2+R2 tap. You'll see how that led to me getting into so much space there I could have gone and scored. That's where the L2+R2 tap is. So to explain the difference between Category 1 and Category 2, that's what you're looking for. So as we get into this here, my favorite skill move pretty much in this game, one that I do just every game no matter what, is this little sideways heel to heel. So the way to perform that is just holding L1 and then right and left or left and right. So right and left of your player, depending on which way you're facing, of course. But I use this all the time to cut in from the wing. There, you'll see he should have even gotten the ball from me and he didn't. I know it's the AI, but still. It's very, very good at holding onto the ball. Now, you're not really going to explode past somebody and go shoot with this again, but just to get beyond them. So normally I'm using this to cut inside and then just make that pass inside, right? Similar thing, but different spacing, is this little behind you drag touch, as I get fouled again. Now the way to perform this one is going to be L1 again, but then it's behind your player and to the side. So either down and left or down and right here, depending. It's very similar in what it accomplishes to the other one, but the spacing is different. So because this is a slightly heavier cut, it's more of a 45-degree angle, whereas this one's a little bit more like a 35-degree angle instead. If your opponent, let's get the situation here. If I'm a little bit more past the opponent, that's where that one, I didn't quite do it right there, although she still held on to the ball. But if you're slightly more past the opponent, that's where this one comes into advantage, because it's just that greater cut. Whereas if your opponent's a little bit more to the side of you, that's where you do the, not that one on the slide tackle, but let's get the more side of me here. Come on. Or a little bit more in front. It didn't work that time, but that's the situation I would use that one in. So it depends on the spacing and the shape between you and the opponents. Now, my next two are both directional nutmegs, and they're my final 2 Category 1 skill moves that I like the most. Again, you can do pretty much any skill move for any category. I mean, sometimes you'll be able to do like a roulette to accomplish the same thing, not to explode past somebody, but to hold on to it. But these are my favorites and the general situations I use them in. So the final 2 are both directional nutmegs. Both are performed with holding L1 and R1 at the same time. And one is just L1, R1 and flick the right stick to the side. So here it would be left or right of roll throw, depending on which way you want to go. The other one is diagonally behind the player, but still L1, R1. So it depends on the direction you're going. This one is very good at kind of baiting players over to, yeah, kind of like that. Like, yeah, you can come challenge me, but I'm just going to, you know, I've already got a skill move planned. You can come ahead and move towards me, and once I see the movement that I want, that's when I go ahead and do one of these skill moves to the side, right? The diagonal back one is my favorite turnaround skill move in the game. The only other one is really the drag back, which is L1, R1, and then just left stick. You're not holding the right stick at all. It's just moving the left stick behind you. You can also do the drag back in other directions, so I can do one to the side like that, right? but the directional nutmeg is just a stronger variant of that. Now, you saw Dybala do a heavy touch there. Let's talk about that actually really quickly. I think that's a good example of something. Before we get onto those other categories, that heavy touch comes when your player is not set in the right shape. So if I do a skill move here with Hamshake after he's sprinting, it goes more in the air and he performs it slower than when he's at a jogging pace. Let me chain one here and do the same skill move multiple times in a row. Okay, she got muscle there, so it wasn't the best example. But same one here. You'll see eventually the ball starts going more and more in the air and he's more emphasized as he's doing it. That's because you're chaining the same skill move in a row, and the game doesn't want you to do that, and they kind of patched that out a couple years by just making it heavier. We'll show with the Elastico here too, I think. Nope. Like, eventually you chain too many skill moves together. You saw how far in the air that one went? Let's do one out of sprinting. Like, that one went so far ahead of her. So it depends on your body shape and how fast you're going. If Dybala's really, like, sprinting, going really fast, it's hard to do skill moves out of that. Or it's hard to do a good skill move out of it. You're going to get a little bit of a disadvantaged one. It is also hard when you're just a little bit off balance, which is hard to kind of show out of a nowhere example, but in a situation where I don't think I'm going to be able to get it here. But again, if your players are a little off balance, if they've been kind of like shoulder tackled or anything, it's the same idea if you do like a first time driven pass. Like, a lot of these will be heavier. Like this one. You saw that one go in the air, which driven passes aren't supposed to do. It's because it was first time. It's the same, like, the player's just not composed enough, not in the right body shape, not with the right balance to be able to perform that action. So when you're doing skill moves, you do want to make sure, you know, if you're doing one out of a sprint, you have to make sure you know what it's like out of a sprint. See, that one's a little heavier than I'm used to because I'm normally doing it at a jog. Now, I'll do a quick little shout out to the two-touch exit, which is a new skill move this year. It was very meta and everyone was talking about it, and I guess that's why I haven't put it in my game, because I just know everybody uses it, and I don't find that as fun. I try to do some less common ones. You know, when's the last time you've seen somebody do that, right? But it is absolutely worth learning. I'm just not talking about it much in this one because I don't have it implemented in my game much. It's kind of a category 1 or a category 2 skill move, depending on where you use it. But this is holding L1 and then up and to the side. So forward of my character and then either left or right of her. Definitely worth learning. Again, I'm just not talking about it too much because I don't find it fun. If you don't really care about the fun of it, you just want the best skill moves, this is absolutely one to learn. But to get into some category 2 ones, my favorite one is, and this is, I guess you can criticize because I was just saying, you know, about the meta ones I don't find as fun. This is still the best one, this L1 heel to heel. So the normal heel to heel is like this. There's also a side variant of it with L2 fake shot. That's just L2 fake shot. The normal one is just flicking ahead of your character and behind. So here it's up and down. But the L1 variant is this little heel to heel one, and you get such a sprint boost out of it. I don't know if you can see here, but your character just like starts flying. Not that. Come on. Oh well. But yeah, your character just starts flying. So if you're trying to get past an opponent, like once the center back faces up with me, as one of them does, you'll see just exploded in behind, free open space. So that's probably like absolutely one of the most worthwhile ones to learn. Another one I like, it is slightly less effective, but I'm just really a big fan, is going to be the Roulette. Which you saw work on the first opponent, not the second, but give me the ball back. Here we go. This is one of the harder ones to perform just on the right stick. So if I'm moving up like this, it is a 270-degree turn on the left stick. I'm starting down, and I'm ending here. I think you only have to perform at 270 degrees, although maybe they mean to have you do the full circle and do 360. I think that is what they mean. But either way actually work for me, so either way you prefer to perform it. But you just start with the right stick at the bottom. If I'm here, you know, towards the bottom of the player, putting it down and then doing a full rotation, full circle, either to the left or to the right, depending on which way you want the player to move. So again, if you're trying to explode past somebody, this is a pretty good one at holding onto possession because you're putting your back to the opponent. So it's kind of hard to tackle off of you. It's not always guaranteed to get you past. You see in that situation it didn't. But it's still pretty good at holding onto the ball, and then when you use it with the right timing, when you're close enough to the opponent, it's very good at getting you past. There is a 3-star variant of that one and a 4-star. As there are with some of these, when I talked about the heel-to-heel before, there's a 3-star version like this. So just keep that in mind, but most of what I'm talking about here have been 4-star variants. Now, a lot of these skill moves, these first explosive ones, are meant to be done when you're really close to the opponent. So like, in a situation like this, I'm basically going to walk up to the opponent and incur, not that one, although we'll talk about that later. But I want to walk up to the opponent, and once it looks like they're about to engage with me, that's when you perform the skill move. A explosive skill move that is more in open space that I like is the 4-star skill move variant of the Elastico, just like that. You're not meant to do it when you're directly face up with the opponent, but it's better to perform when you're just a little bit further of a distance. It's great to explode out of. So this one I don't like performing when I'm directly against somebody like that, although it did work. It's more if I've got a little distance and I do that and then kind of turn into sprinting after. You'll see it's really good to take a sprint touch out of, which not every skill move is. Like that one I don't like sprinting out of because you've got just this little bit of a heavier emphasis. But this 4-star Elastico, like do that, explode into open space, there you go. Now of course the 5-star Elastico is a more meta version of this. And it's less the open space variant and more the directly kind of up against the opponent. So we'll show this one. Oh, and I'll talk about how to perform the Elastico in a second. But once the opponent kind of, it didn't work that time. But once they start facing up with you, let's get an example there. Turn, and nope. Come on. Hold on now. So let's get a good example here. And there, just exploded on past. Now I'm into open space, and I performed it too late on that one. But if you've played FIFA for a while, this is almost certainly one you know about. This is a very well-known move with all the pros. Like, you'll see this all the time in pro competition. And now you're starting to see how effective that is, right? So that is going to be performed by the 4-star variant and the 5-star variant are both the same. So if I'm moving up here, it's a 180-degree rotation, starting from the right and ending at the left, moving through the bottom of the right stick. So you'll take a look at the controller overlay there, and I'm going to start over on the right side and then end going through the bottom at the left side, depending on the direction your player is facing, of course. And you can do it either side, although both variants are different. One's an Elastico, one's an reverse Elastico. They do work slightly different. This one gets the ball a little more in the air, and it's slightly less effective, although it gets the ball a little further away from you, so it depends if you're trying to sprint out of it. The other one is a little bit closer to you, a little bit more controlled, but it doesn't quite explode the same way. Now most people will do, like most people will tell you the reverse Elastico is more meta, and I would agree with that, it is. But they both have slightly different uses. It depends on which foot your player is though, which way it goes. So left-footed and right-footed will do them on opposite sides. The way to perform the 4-star variant is just the same. So it just depends on the skill moves of your player, but the same, starting on the right, going through the bottom, ending on the left. And of course, this wouldn't be a good skill move tutorial if we didn't talk about Mcgeady's and Mcgeady cancels. So the Mcgeady spin is like that. It's a very good explosive move. This is a 5-star variant. There's a 4-star, but the 5-star is better. And you'll see, just kind of like that, able to explode past the opponents. So this one is performed, if I'm moving up here, it's up and then right, not holding anything else, just up and right or up and left as I get tackled away. Now, there's a cancel variation of this, and if you don't know about skill move cancels, it's holding L2 and R2 to cancel out of something. So even a skill move we talked about earlier, which was this one, this 2-touch exit. If I do, nope, I did it wrong there. But if I do part of it and then partway through switch to holding L2+R2, you'll see she only performs half of it, and now I'm just going directly backwards. So same thing with the the Mcgeady spin here. You'll see it's normally just this 90-degree rotation, but if I cancel it, I can go directly 180 degrees back if I want. I can really go any direction, so that was like 270 degrees back. Skill move cancels are some of the harder things to perform because you're doing one skill move and then immediately switching to pressing different buttons, but they're, again, very effective. We're going to show the 4-star variation really quickly, which is not quite as quickly performed. You'll see the difference between those two. So the 5-star, much quicker, a little bit more meta, a little bit more effective. However, the 4-star variant is a little bit easier to sprint out of, or gives you like a higher top speed if you want. So there's a benefit and a drawback to both. Most of the times the 5-star variant is better, but that's the difference between the two. Now I believe I'm done with categories 1 and 2 there. There are a just unbelievable amount of other skill moves you can learn. And I will try to talk about them in other videos. We've got like this new one here, this big step over fake. We've got these little turns, which are good, even as I'm getting tackled. Yeah, most of these are 4-star. This turn's great. That turn's pretty good. That turn's pretty good. So really quickly, this one is just down twice on the right stick, or down behind your player twice on the right stick. This one's the same, down twice on the right stick, but holding L1, and these are just to go directly backwards. Again, there are a ton of other skill moves. If you want me to cover others, I'm more than happy to, but the ones I'm going through so far are the ones I use in almost every game, if not every game. So again, I think I'm done with the category 1 and category 2. Let's move on to 3, which was the spacing and enticing an opponent to come to you. I think I've really only got 2 of these I want to talk about. Let's get into the first one. So these ones are going to look a little more showboaty. Again, I promise they're not. But there's this L1 variant of the Roulette, or the Maradonna spin, which is just a 1-touch variant instead of the 3-touch. And again, the point of these is to encourage the opponent to say, or to say to them basically, hey, not that one, this one. Hey, I want you to actually come and engage with me. It looks like a heavy touch, but this is a great one to chain with other skill moves. So, like I can do that into that one without getting too much of a heavy touch. Remember when I was talking earlier about like it's hard to do certain skill moves after another because you'll get a little bit of a heavier variant? That one, the Elastico moved further away from Darbala than normal. This one is great to chain out of for me. So, it can be used to get past opponents sometimes, but normally it's, let's get the right situation here. I want to give a good example. I do it like there, and you see the opponent like made that, I know it's the AI again, but they made that stand tackle. That's kind of the idea, is to say, you know, hey, come on and get this ball. Oh wait, I've actually got something else planned after it. You can't. Haven't quite gotten a good example, but no, that was just trying to get past them with it. Yeah, man. But you want to perform this, nah, I did it 1 touch late. You want to perform this in a little bit more open space, so you don't want to be really that close to an opponent at all. You're like, maybe there, nope. Come on, one more. Like there maybe, and then they're like, oh, it looks like a situation I can go ahead and get the ball in. And then you have something else in your mind, like a Mcgeady or an Elastico that you want to do after it. This is easier to do against human opponents because they're the ones that get baited in on it. The AI, of course, don't really get enticed in that way. But I can promise you, this works against online opponents for me. The other one, and I'm a really big fan of this one, is this L2 fake shot stop. Fake shot stop, rather. Like this 2-touch little drag. This one's great to exit out of. One of the best ways to turn around in the game. One of the most consistent ways to turn around in the game. And also great to chain like skill moves with. I'll do that. With the point of doing what I actually want to do is like that after, right? And with skill move chaining, you're not always doing like one immediately into the next, but you'll take a touch or two to settle in between. But that there, nope. Just that little readjustment, and then I'm looking to start doing some other things. It's also just kind of great on the sideline to slow your player down. It's one of the better ways to slow your player down. Let me actually show an example of that. You keep your momentum by doing this one. You'll see I use that in nothing else, just that and then sprinting after to get inside of the opponent. But if you just do a normal fake shot, then it's like I've lost all of my momentum. I have to build it up with another couple touches, right? If I do this, I've actually got some momentum to turn back into something else. So again, another thing I really like doing on the wing, but it can also be used to like look to your opponent like you took a heavy touch, and then you're actually going, nope, I'm still in control. Look at that. Still able to do something with it. So those are my only 2 category 3 specific ones, but I want to point out that you can do pretty much, once again, any skill move in any category. So I'm going to use the L1 heel to heel, which is normally a category 2 one, as a category 3 one, by just doing it in open space instead of right next to an opponent. So I'll do it here. Nope, that was the wrong one to perform. Come on. I was also not registering the L1. But like, I might do it there to try to chain into a different skill move. I'll go back to Patry. So because I'm doing this in open space, it's acting more like a category 3 one of enticing somebody to come forward. Nah, that wasn't the right open space for it. But it's going to entice somebody to go, oh, maybe that's a tackleable dribble there. And then you go, nope, I was actually doing that with the point of doing another skill move after it. You can do that with the roulette as well. Like, just do this in open space, then with the point of doing something else after, right? So that was roulette into some L2+R2 dribbling that I could have gone and scored on. The final category, and shout out to my favorite skill moves, the ball roll and the body feint. And I'm genuinely serious about that. That is not a lie. It's going to sound like a lie. It's not. The fake shot has an honorable mention up here too, kind of a similar idea. The reason these are my favorites is you can just do them all the time with any player, and they have so many different benefits. Again, you can use these as other categories, and this trickster fake shot, by the way, if you've got trickster minus, this one's really good. You can see they get like a little sprint touch out of it too. But I will do these as pretty much all categories, actually, so I'm going to talk about that in a second, but let's talk about category 4 specifically. Let's say I'm going to make a driven pass to Jonathan Tah up there, and I know he's got low dribbling, so he's not going to receive it very well. That was to the wrong player. He's got a heavy touch, and then sometimes he'll have more than one heavy touch. So that first touch isn't great, and then sometimes the second touch isn't quite what you want either. Or it's just performed at the wrong angle. Like, he might take the touch in a good way, but in just not the direction I thought the left stick was going. Because, again, normal left stick dribbling is not perfectly consistent. If I want to make it consistent, there's the first touch. No, he didn't do it. First touch, ball roll on second touch. I know exactly where that's going every single time. And it settles their positioning really well. So, like, heavy touch on the first, no heavy touches anymore. The ball roll itself is performed smoothly, and I know I can do other things after that. I can move into, the L2+R2 or L1 dribbling. I can move into another skill move. It's just settling your body shape, settling your balance, so that you're not getting the heavy touch that we talked about earlier when you just do too many skill moves at once, right? Let me give another example of that. So here, she actually didn't perform one anymore. Like she ran out of stamina or something. You see just how high in the air that ball went? That's the idea with this. So if you're coming off of a touch or another skill move that you know is going to just be a heavy one, this is just a great way to settle it. Same with the body feint. Because you basically never get heavy touches out of a body feint if you have a slight heavy touch at first. Now, you can get heavier versions of the body feint. Again, if you spam it too much. Like, you'll see the ball. Come on, let me do it, opponent. You'll see the ball start going in the air with this one, too. And they just get too heavy to even want to perform another one. But a situation like that, just ball roll. Now I'm on my way. These are also just so great for chaining. So a lot of my skill runs last year were performed with ball rolls at some point during them. So you might, oops, that's not where that should have gone. Give me that back. You might see me do like a skill move and a skill move and a ball roll just to settle. He didn't do it because the ball was in the air again. Like skill move. But like, point being, it'd be some more complicated skill moves into a simple one that I'm really familiar with. That just, I know how they work. I've done them for years. So like complicated one, simple one, complicated one, simple one. Another simple one. We'll do like a little bit more complication here. And then just settle myself with something like that. Little ball roll turn just to, you know, get out of the one situation. Make sure there's no heavy touch with it. There you go. The other thing I want to make sure I talk about is the consistent positioning by using these skill moves. So let me get a finesse shot opportunity here. Or not. They're going to defend me well for once. Come on. So in a situation like this, I'm not as guaranteed that that cut down is going to do it in the amount of touches I want and go in exactly the direction I want. Because the left stick is just going to be off by a couple pixels, a couple degrees. I'm just not as guaranteed that he's, like, even that one, he exited just a little bit heavy out of and wasn't able to take the best shot because of it. Now in those situations, that's where, like, the ball roll and the body feint are great. Now, let me get another example. If they will let me past. Come on. So here, ball roll down. There's your finesse shot. I knew exactly where the ball roll was going to result. Because again, the left stick, not guaranteed. The ball roll is the same, what is this, like 20 degrees rotation change every single time. Again, assuming it's not a heavy touch, which the ball roll almost never is. So you know exactly where this is going to go. And it's the same with every skill move. Again, as long as it's not a heavy one, you know exactly where every single one of these is going to result. And that's part of the benefit of skill moves. But the basic ones of the ball roll and the body feint are just great for... Here's the body feint. You saw perfect finesse shot angle. Exited exactly where I wanted without the heaviness to affect the shot, to turn it into a bad shot, right? So that's the benefit of, it's mostly just those two. The step overs and the fake shots are a little bit like it. That's a 5-star variant of the fake shot, and he's got the trickster version. I want the basic version, which is this one. Like, again, very consistent, and it doesn't leave you with a heavy touch. So if I just want a, again, slight adjustment as I'm getting to a shooting opportunity, to go down a little. He just got back, but you saw the idea. The left stick not guaranteed to make the same cut, whereas the fake shot, I know exactly where that's going every time. So I think that's all covered with the skill moves here that I want to talk about. Although there's one final concept, actually. And I want to explain that you don't have to take your skill move opportunity on the defender's terms. What I mean by that is a lot of people will have a skill move in mind, like, I've now chosen from here that I want to do an Elastico, and so I'm just going to kind of run at you and perform the thing. So I'm go like, oh, this looks like an Elastico chance, and I'll do that, and it ends up working. But instead of just kind of facing up directly at the opponent, you can pull them out of position a little bit before you do it. So here, like, I'm going to move at a little bit of an angle, because I want one of the opponents to come with me, which will open up space somewhere else. So the space I wanted to get to in that situation was behind me, back in this little pocket here. If I do it now, like, the players are a little bit closer to me, but if I make that turnaround by just taking a few more steps out, no, I didn't cancel it right. But you saw by walking up, the whole opponent's team shifted. I'll do the same thing with Rolfo here. I could cut inside now and move to that inside space, but if I move out here first, the fullback comes with me, and now there's just a greater amount of space back here. So a lot of people will, in a situation like this, go, oh, you know, Hazardous told me about this skill move, I want to perform it here. I want to perform it in these situations, but you want to make sure you're performing it in the situation that benefits you the most. So if you do it a little further down the field, now I'm cutting back into the space with just a bigger pocket back here, Whereas if I did it on the opponent's terms, when it looked like they were going to challenge first, and like kind of the more basic situation to use the skill move, I'm not cutting back into, come on. No, don't pass for the first time, give me that. If I do it a little bit deeper on the field here, see the midfielders are kind of covering that space now. There's not guaranteed to be the same pocket back there for you. There was that time because the midfielder didn't come back. But the point being, it's not just like, oh, face up, and the opponent's coming to me, and that's when I perform a skill move. When the opponent's coming to you, if that's when you perform the skill move, it's actually still kind of on the defender's terms. No, I think to show this best, I should actually get into some real game examples here. So this is from my past weekend league. I had talked about in the past video of disguising the direction you actually want to go by going the direction you don't. Let me show you an example of that here, but with skill moves. So the space I actually want to get into is out on the wing with Rafinha here, right? I'm trying to go closer to the touchline. I don't see any real benefit from cutting inside. Like, I think Dybala is going to be too marked. Messi is on the other side, but there's a midfielder for the opponents kind of in the middle there, and I think that's going to get in the way. I don't see the benefit of getting inside. What I see here when I'm looking, what I recognize is, you know, the defensive line here, if I move this line back this way, I think there's going to be a bigger pocket opened behind them. So what I'm trying to do is just cause this shift to happen as they get further down the field. And I'm recognizing that because the space I actually want to attack is here, right? And by causing these players to run further away from the space I want to attack, I think it's going to create an even bigger gap in the center. So to do that, you know, I'm going back this way. My idea here is always to cut inside at some point. But for now, I'm thinking push that defensive line back, and you'll watch as these center backs, of course, have to run back with you. Oh, all of a sudden, they're dropping 5-10 yards. And that's opened just a little gap for Dybala, because the one midfielder didn't track him that well. This wasn't necessarily what I thought would happen, but again, the AI didn't pick him up. He makes a great run in there. There we are. And a little skill move. There we go. But what makes this work is by faking like I'm going to cut back inside here. Now I could do one of those L1, you know, type 1 skill moves where I just cut back inside of Araujo there. Araujo, excuse me. I think that's his pronunciation. Could cut back inside of him and, you know, keep possession, just hold on to the ball, really guaranteed, and work that towards the middle. But I fake like I'm going to do that. I could do that like side heel to heel move here, cut back inside of him, because it looks like I'm shaping up to do that by taking this angle. If I'm facing up like this, then it makes it pretty obvious that I'm just getting down the line. But by cutting inside just a little bit, it makes it look like I might cut back beside the opponent. And what that does is it encourages the opponent to contain me back this way and allow me the space out to the side, instead of just immediately sprinting back here and covering the side. So it just makes the opponent delay a little bit of hesitation.
Nice,
we can watch him here. So as he's sprinting back, you know, he sprints up at just a little bit of an angle, which slows him down a bit, and then he slows down here. You'll see he turns into a jockey, and then it takes longer for him to sprint out of, and now I've generated that gap. Because the gap was generated so well, I've got enough space to make the pass inside. So it's just that little fake. I know where I want to go is back here, so I start going the other direction first, cause the opponent to hesitate, delay just a little bit to guard the other thing. Same idea here. Where I want to go is back behind the defense here. I accomplish that by causing the opponent to step out of the line. At first, they're in a great defensive shape. Don't have the first touch here with Dybala to take a shot, I don't think. I could maybe turn on his right and take the right-footed shot. 3-star weak foot, I'm not feeling great about that. But you'll see that the opponent is in basically shape, right? This is a good enough flat line. It's really hard to get behind. So I take the touch away, and I encourage the opponent to step out to me. This is no longer the shape. We talked about that flat line first. No longer a flat line. Now I've got this little pocket to exploit to get into. There's my shooting opportunity. So in both situations on this play, I know where I want to go. It's back here. I disguise that by cutting inside first, or looking like I could. It also keeps your options open, so If you only have one option, the opponent knows what to defend. If you've got two, then they're caught in a 50-50. If you've got three, they're caught in 33%, right? So the more options you keep yourself open, the harder it is for the opponent to defend. But I fake going one way, I go out the other, because I know where I wanted to get to in the end, and so I fake it going the opposite way, which opens up more space to where I really wanted to get to. Same thing here. I know where I want to get to, I go the opposite direction of where I want to go, which opens up more space to get into after. Now this one, very similar idea with Messi. A little bit more basic of a concept, I think, but you'll get the idea. Great turn. So where do I want to go? I want to go inside on his left foot. It's Messi. He's got great finesses, right? So I get him behind the opponent. And of course, by getting him behind, it forces them to drop back no matter what. But I use that, you know, the body shape of the opponent against them to be able to cut back inside. So it looks like I'm kind of faking here. And obviously Messi doesn't fully have the pace, but even if I had a player with the pace, I'd probably do the same move here. Looks like I could do a right-footed shot or go for a Trivela near post, neither of which I'm very confident in. So it's the same. I'm going the opposite way, like no matter what, this whole time, I'm always thinking, one on the right foot, cut inside finesse. I do the opposite of what I want to first. Little skill move, possessive based, you know, this is normally a category 1 skill move. It ends up being category here because the opponent is in such a bad body shape. You'll see how heavy they are. Gone all the way over here, can't turn back in time. So it kind of goes from a category 1 to a category 2. I do it as a category 1 just to be possession based. What actually, if the defender ends up defending this well enough, I'm perfectly fine with letting them come back down this way by doing a possession based skill move first this way, and then doing an explosive-based skill move back the other way. So it's the same thing. You know, if I want to cut inside, it's doing this little move here. And then if I actually want to cut back outside this way, it's just lingering here, just that little bit. You're just delaying enough to drag the opponent out. All of a sudden, instead of this shape, they'd be in, you know, this shape. They wouldn't have a very solid line anymore. There'd be a big gap here for me to exploit. If this skill move didn't come out the way it does. Because it does, I'm able to just get a shot, right? But you get the idea of if the opponent cuts all the way back across, I would just go back up the other way into the other gap I've created. Now this one here is an example of one of the category 3 kind of baiting skill moves. We'll watch it here real quick. It's a little hard to see, although that's just going to be part of all of this, is like you're gaining such small advantages over the field that are, you know, something you can still take advantage of even at the higher levels. Or, you know, at the higher levels, this is sometimes what the differences are, rather. Let me get my words out right. But this is an example of two things. So one, that category 3 skill move, but then two, the whole opening up space somewhere else by moving the way you don't want to first. So here, of course, you always want to attack on the inside. If I had the chance, I'd turn back towards the middle, but the defense is in a really good shape here. So, kind of forced to move out wide. A little bit of tech there. And let's take a look at the defensive shape first, actually. With that missed stand tackle, there might just be a chance to move into that space, but I don't have the reaction time to, you know, register that and everything like that. So I'm still committed to moving out wide here. Plus, he's pretty decent with the fullback. You'll see their defensive shape is actually pretty compact here. We'll take a look at the circle. It's, you know, I don't have a way to show you distance, but it's a pretty compact circle here. But as I move back outside, you know, it has gone from like this shape to that shape. Essentially, right? It's not perfect, but you'll see that before there was just no gap, and I didn't have any players there anyway, so by moving outside it's delayed a little for somebody else to make a run. But there's very, very little way to get into this gap here, or at least this guy would probably move up and cover it if Dybala was here. But by moving out wide, going the direction I don't want to go, it's open up space where I do want to go. And to talk about that category 3, take a look here, switching around, switches over there. The switch does not occur, his player switch to move back to controlling the left back, does not occur until the opponent registers that I'm doing a skill move. So they think, oh, this might be an opportunity to go tackle the ball. What I want the opponent to do is switch to the left back because it's really hard to beat the AI. So if the opponent's manually controlling the player, I think I've got a better chance there. So this is, you know, it doesn't quite look like open space, but trust me, this is what I'm talking about with that category 3. Not showboating, not any of that stuff. It's a little bit of an open space thing to convince the opponent to move to that guy, and then he's looking like, oh, I might actually be able to go and tackle this. Nope, I'm in control this whole time. The whole thing I want to accomplish here is just have you control this player, because you're going to move him, and all I need is you to move him from here to here, which means this position here is no longer blocking the area that I want to pass back down into. So there we have it. A little bit more delay, same thing. I want to get back. Like, it looks like Dybala's got a good shot here, but I'm faking going on down there. You see how much space it opens for a little turn back inside, right? So I'm sitting at the end of this one here and realizing, wow, this has been a lot longer than I thought it would be. This is the longest tutorial I've put out yet. I definitely want to do more in-game clips with the next one. Explaining kind of body shapes and how to use the opponent's body shape against them. What kind of certain spaces on the field you want to be looking for when you're performing skill moves, like how much space you need, things like that. I'm also going to be hopefully incorporating some more skill runs into my game, so we can talk about that soon too. But for now, hopefully this is a bit of an introductory one. Again, I know a long one, but there's a lot to explain with this kind of stuff, so it's a lot to keep in mind. So while you're watching this, maybe break it down into a couple things. If you understand one category, move on to the next, but maybe just kind of focus on one skill move or one thing to look for in game before moving on to some of the others. But again, there's a lot to talk about here, so hopefully the in-depth nature of these videos is something you appreciate. Sounds like a lot of you have been, which once again I want to say just massive thank you for all of the support I've had recently. Unbelievably positive comments. The channel seems like it's growing, and I'm really excited about that. If you do have any questions, feel free to get at me in the comments. If there are certain skill moves you want me to cover, if there are certain situations you're not sure about, or maybe certain things in the clips, it can be from the offline gameplay I was playing here or the clips I covered at the end that you just aren't quite understanding, please feel free to get at me in the comments. I do my best to respond to everybody, and the people who are asking questions that are a little bit more in depth, I try to turn some of these into videos, or at least include them in the next video idea. So once again, get at me in the comments, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I do once again hope these are helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.